Hello again, and here I am with part two. So, what is the significance of baptism? In Mark 28, verse 19, go ye therefore into all the world and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Baptism is a command for the new believer to be baptized and a commission to the Christian to be baptizers. Biblically, you do not have to be an ordained, sanctioned individual in order to perform a baptism. You just need to be a follower, a committed follower and believer in Jesus Christ. Now, I don't recommend that you go out there and just start randomly baptizing people, because there is an element of authority and needing to be a part of a local body that's involved in all of that. But if you are out in the middle of nowhere and you lead someone to Christ and there's a body of water, just much like Philip to the eunuch, here's a body of water. What prevents me from being baptized? Or what prevents you from baptizing that person and sealing the deal? Number two, from Mark 16:16, whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned. It is not a single event we can off our spiritual to-do list. So it's like get baptized is not just something on a to-do list that we're supposed to do. It is an outward indication of an inner commitment to be lived out throughout a person's life. Your baptism is an outward demonstration, an outward testimony of the inward transformation that's taken place in your life. It's a sign of surrender and obedience. But John tried to deter him, saying, I need to be baptized by you, and you come to me? And Jesus replied, let it be so now. It is proper for us to do this to fulfill all righteousness, in Matthew chapter 3, verses 14 and 15. It's a sign of surrender and obedience. I find that many people who refuse to follow the Lord in believers' baptism have rebellion issues. They want to be saved because they don't want to go to hell, but they don't want to be baptized because they want just enough of Jesus to miss hell, but they don't want so much of Jesus that would cause their lives to be transformed and changed to where they would have to surrender the lordship, surrender the control of their lives to Jesus. It's a demonstration of our commitment to share in the suffering of Jesus, Romans 6:3. Or do you not know that all of us who were baptized into Christ were baptized into his death? So to be baptized is to be baptized into his death, to die to yourself, to die to your desires, to die to the persecutions and the adversity that the world will throw in our direction. 1 Corinthians 12:13. For we are all baptized by one Spirit into one body, whether Jews or Greeks, slave or free, we were all given one Spirit to drink. By following the Lord in believers' baptism, we are renouncing prejudice, pride, and bigotry, because all get born again the same way. All get baptized the same way. And regardless of gender, regardless of age, regardless of financial status, regardless of race, we all come into the kingdom the same way. It proclaims our oneness with Jesus Christ. For all who are baptized into Christ have clothed yourself with Christ. So when we are baptized, we are declaring it is no longer I that lives, but it's Christ who lives within me. And the life I live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. It proclaims that we have been given new lives, thus no longer captive to or by sin, having been buried with him in baptism and raised with him through your faith in the power of God who raised him from the dead, Colossians 2, verse 12. It's a pledge to God for what he did for the believer. And this water symbolizes baptism that now saves you also. Not the removal of dirt from the body, but the pledge of a good conscience toward God. It saves you by the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and that's 1 Peter 3:21. So in summary, baptism is a crossing over, a leaving behind, a death, burial of all that was. It's a resurrection to a new life, a new culture, a new identity. It reminds me of the conversation between Ruth and Naomi. I will not leave you. Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. And where you are buried, there I also will be buried. It is an intense declaration of commitment. I am not going to dwell in the same place. I am not going to claim connection to the same people. I am going to live where you live. I'm going where you go. I'm going to follow. And at the end of my days, I will be right there next to you. It is, and it's not a short-term commitment. This is a lifetime commitment, declaring, making a public declaration. I have decided to follow Jesus, and I will not turn back. Just a few months ago at Bethesda School of Ministry, I had the privilege of baptizing several of our students there at Bethesda. And after I had done a teaching on baptism and invited them to respond if they had never been baptized, or if now that they had a newer, more realistic understanding of what their baptism meant, if they would like to be baptized for the first time or baptized again with understanding. And I think all but one person wanted to be baptized. And after talking with each of them individually, confirming and assuring that they were followers of Jesus Christ, that they'd been born again, when we got into the waters, I asked them this question: what would you like to bury? What is it that needs to be buried in this watery in this watery grave? And it was a private conversation, so it was no one's business. And they would share to the Lord. If they wanted to do it silently, that was fine with me. If they wanted to say it out loud, that was equally fine. But each of them, either silently or out loud, declared something in their life that was holding them, that they wanted to be free from, that they were wanting to bury that. And they understood that they were going down with some bondage. And when they went down, that bondage was going to die. And when they came up out of the water, they were going to be raised into newness of life. That it was going to be an outward demonstration of the personal commitment that they had already made to Jesus Christ. So I think it's a good idea for us to ask ourselves the question: is there something we need to bury? Is there something in our lives that we need to say, I have decided to follow Jesus, and I will not let this keep me away from that commitment any longer? Well, God bless you guys, and I'll be right back with the section on communion.